Sexuality is innocent. Sexuality is natural. Very few people speak about sex in this way. It for too long has been a closed door conversation. And the more we normalize it, the less assault there is. The more people have access to whatever strange desires they have, the less we see people doing weird shit like sex trafficking.
Welcome back to the Power and Purpose podcast. I am your host, Vanessa Soul. Thank you so much for investing your time and your energy into tuning into today's episode. And I'm super excited for this one. Today's guest is Amaya Shiva, and she is a conscious sexuality coach, relationship guide, and communication expert. Amaya, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. So I have a signature question. Who are you and who are you not?
Am I? And who am I not? I'm a full spectrum human being. And by that, I mean really full spectrum. Like I went from partying and like hanging out with rock stars in my 20s to meditating with saints in the foothills of the Himalayan mountains. I switched between knife fighting class and meditation class because they're both only on Saturdays at a certain time. I will go spend time with a celibate monk and then I study with world famous dominatrixes. I am somebody who is here to be with it all. Who I am not, I am not the repressed linear, I have to do it this way. I can get kind of anal, but I am not stuck. I'm so open and I'm so grateful for that. And it's how I grew up. I grew up with an immigrant mom, an immigrant stepmom, 5 sisters. 2 are half black, 2 are half Asian. One grew up in Austria. Like my whole life has been full spectrum.
Oh my gosh. Like you are such an interesting person. I'm so honored to be on this Zoom with you right now for this episode. And by the way, that was the most enjoyable answer. Like I was like on the journey with you when you were like dominatrix this and then meditation over here and like I love it. I think I could relate. I'm also full spectrum. I think we all are, but it's like the bigger question is does everyone have the awareness that they are full spectrum? Some people know, but that was really enjoyable. And I get a kick out of that question because it just allows us to have different perspectives, to open ourselves up. Is just to play around with identity because we can actually wear so many different costumes
Yes.
and mask. And as long as you're not attached to a mask and you know it's a mask, you can have fun with it. You don't have to be so attached to it. So thank you for playing along with that. I love it. And as we start to really dive into sexuality, sensuality, expression, like all the things, before we get there, I just want to know a little bit more about your journey into conscious sexuality and where you were before. So you had some early experiences with shame and bullying, and my least favorite, the good girl conditioning. What is that? What was it like? Tell us.
I love this question, and it's a really important one. For those of you, again, who have never met me before, I have worked with hundreds of singles and couples from around the world. I'm also the host of Your Sexual Revolution, the podcast, and I am soon to be an author. And before this work, I struggled with feeling very disconnected from my body. I struggled with expressing myself sexually to my partners. I struggled with feeling like I didn't even want to have sex, except for in my mind as a fantasy, because the real thing was so disappointing compared to what I had hoped for and what I thought it could be. And You know, it's interesting. I didn't grow up particularly sexually repressed. My mother is German. Like, she gave me this book called Our Bodies Ourselves when I was 14. It had this whole section on masturbation, which we now call self-pleasure. I was super excited about that. I was like, wow, this is the best manual ever. But somewhere along the way, we don't have a real sex education. We don't learn about boundaries and communicating what you're comfortable with. And so what happened for me is that I really I found alcohol, right, in my late teens and early 20s, and that was like what I used to be kind of wild. And then when I quit drinking, I still had the same problems. I still felt like very uptight. Um, I still didn't know how to ask for what I wanted, and I would actually avoid a lot of intimacy, even just non-sexual, because I felt obligated to go through and have sex anytime intimacy was initiated. So I got married when I was 26, and this became an issue in our marriage, right? My poor now ex was feeling really frustrated because for men, sex is a way to connect. It's not the only way, but it's a really important emotional connection place. Like, in contrast to women, we're touching each other, we hug each other, we're more sensual, and men are like, mostly just they're just getting handshakes. So that's like their arena for being nourished. And I was not into it. I wasn't feeling it. I didn't know this at the time, but I am a sensual, kinky blueprint. So I need some story, some taboo. Otherwise, for me, this whole routine of like make out, oral sex, penetration is very boring.
Mm-hmm.
Totally,
Same.
dude, totally. It's so routine. It's like even if you had a Michelin star chef and if you had to eat the same meal that they prepared, you would be sick of it within a week, right? So it doesn't matter how good it is, it gets old. And at some point, I tried to introduce some fantasies I had, but I was like 27, had no idea how to do it. And my partner was like, whoa, I don't know. And I shut down. And I just did what I always did. I focused on overachieving. I was in school at the time, and you know, ended up graduating magna cum laude. Was getting grants from NASA and the NSF as a woman in science, and my relationship was totally struggling. I just ignored it. And what ended up happening is after 10 years of building a partnership, we got divorced. And it was at that point that I realized this cannot stay the same. Like, at that point, I'm in my mid 30s, and it's like, well, fuck. When does the good sex ever happen? When does the great communication come? And I knew that I had to become responsible for it. The good news is that there's a happy ending to this story. And because of all of those experiences I had in relationship, I went and figured it out. Like, I have participated in over 50 and helped facilitate over 50 conscious sensuality events, and became a trauma-informed master coach, um, and started having the best sex of my life. And that's what I get to teach people how to do. So it's a pretty good journey,
Wow, I would love to unpack some of those moments. And yeah, what an interesting journey,
right?
by the way. So much in there. And I think we can all relate. Relatability is why I do this podcast. It's why I listen to other people's podcasts. It's it's such a valuable experience to relate. And I think we can all relate to, the alcohol thing. Like that's our sometimes we have to it's hard for us to give ourselves permission, or we're too judgmental, or we're critical, or we're worried about being rejected by the other person. That little bit of disassociation, and I'm not promoting this, you guys, we're just reflecting here. That disassociation, that numbing, that escape that the alcohol does to our energy and our body. Sometimes we use it as training wheels to kind of play around with our expression, and kind it's where we feel safe to be crazy, out of control, free, sexual. So I think a lot of people can relate to that. Um, Wrapped up in that, what do you think it was? Was it just because you said you weren't really sexually repressed when you were a child? You were introduced to, healthy levels of like, or that book of the self-pleasure, things like that. But around the disassociation and the numbing, do you feel it was fear of rejection or it was just unfamiliar? What else do you think was there?
That's a great question. And to start with, I was only modeled, as most of you were, a performative-based narrative of sex. Look, where most of us, myself included, where we're learning about sex is from what? It's from movies. It's from Hollywood. And if you look at every single movie you've seen, what is a sex scene like? It is a man and a woman making out hot and heavy for 30 seconds, and then they're having sex. So there is this conditioning that this is what sex is supposed to look like, that a woman is supposed to be hot and heavy within a minute and ready to fuck. And that's not me. And it's not most women, which is why 34% of women right now, 34% of women listening are struggling with feeling disconnected from their desire and their sexuality and like, what is wrong with me? Like, where has this part of myself gone? And so it's this paradigm where we're taught that like a successful sexual experience has to do with genital penetration. It has to do with having an orgasm. It has to do with doing a good job, right? Like people will experience stress if the partner doesn't come. And I don't mean just men, women too. It's like, oh, wait, am I not hot enough? Oh my God, what did I do wrong? And couple that with not knowing how to say, actually, I don't want to have sex, and not having I didn't have an erotic vocabulary, right?
Mm,
Most people don't unless you seek this out. Like, what do you do when you don't want that model? Which actually most people don't fit into that.
mhm,
So for me personally, it was that piece. Like I didn't have any model for sensuality or sexuality that matched my paradigm of it.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I could also relate and say, because I have a similar experience, because we're talking about the alcohol piece and like what other energies are there, like what problem were we really trying to solve, right? I think for me, it was that pressure that you're just talking about right now, that performance. And I didn't really realize that they do that in movies, and they do. 30 seconds of,
Yeah.
that little 30-second prelude, and that's supposed to be enough. And then it's like hit the ground running. And so, yeah, that performance. And for me, just because I've done a lot of self work, that also came from my relationship with my father, right? Just trying to perform all the time. And I think a lot of women, how you perform or how your intimate life, you got, if depending on what's integrated and what's not integrated, it might be some father relational things. Personal opinion, you're the expert. But I'm so glad we're highlighting that, like the pressure, the performance piece, so that way people can start to kind of integrate and unpack this for themselves if they feel like they're still kind of in that state of disconnection. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the good girl paradigm, it extends into our sex lives as women. Women don't want to be too high maintenance, so like you suppress what you ask for. Um, Women can be very judgmental of themselves and of others, and you'll notice that like, okay, how do we label sexually expressed women? They're sluts. It's
Yep.
negative, right? Nobody's like now in my communities, we're like, yes, fuck yeah, be that, express yourself. But until you seek out those communities, it's like, oh my God, did you see her? Oh, she sleeps with everybody. What a slut. Or if you enjoy sex, right? There's a certain kind of portrayal of an archetype that enjoys sex. It's the seductress, it's the bad girl. Where's the woman who has her shit together and happens to be super deliciously connected to her sensuality,
Hmm.
right? We're missing these models in our culture. And so again, as women, there's this fear of being too much. And then not even knowing what your erotic or intimate blueprint is, because you never even knew there were other options besides what you saw in a movie, or Emily in Paris, or Sex in the City, or whatever show you're watching, you know?
Mm. And how do we get to know our erotic thing, whatever you called it?
Yeah, the intimacy blueprint.
Okay.
Well, there's, when I work with clients, I take them through a whole system of self-study and we work together. But the best way, as somebody who's starting out, if you're listening and you're like, how do I practice an experiment on my own? Listen to your body, right? Your body is always telling you yes or no. So when you are intimate with somebody, slow it way down, take penetration and genital contact off the table and see what you're left with. Like for a lot of people, it's super awkward at first. They're like, wait, what do I do now? Breathe. Listen,
Mm.
listen to like practice touching each other, right? Practice just being in a soft contact, and then practice. You can use the five elements practice, like an air touch, a water touch, like massagey, fire touch, which is more fierce, and grounding, which could be pressure on the body, things
Mm.
like that. Like that's a really good place to start. It's also a good place to start by noticing where your body is saying no and you've been bypassing it. Here's what happens, especially in marriage and long-term partnerships, right? Once that limerence phase is over, where, at first you're like, yes, let's go, hopefully, with your partner, like you're excited to have sex and connect. And then as it fades, what is left, right? How do we keep that kindled? And if you are betraying your body and like there's this unspoken expectation that every time you sensually connect, you're supposed to have sex, you will disconnect from your partner because you probably don't always want to have sex, right? This happens all the time. And then you become unavailable for even like sensual touch or hugs or massage because you're like, oh God, internally, like, oh, we're going to have sex. I'm tired. I'm not turned on, whatever it is. And you start to pull away when you betray your body like this. Does that make sense?
Mm. Perfect sense. And in fact, it's so ironic because this past weekend, my partner and I just decided to have non-sexual intimacy. And probably the last 4 days, we didn't make the decision. We saw that it was kind of going that in that direction for 2 days, and then we just had some self-awareness, talked about it really briefly, and then we were like, oh my God, like we just realized how much deeper we're connecting without it for right now. And then it's like you can actually kind of see how far you can go and that connection builds. I'm still fresh in this particular experience with this particular partner, but it's so beneficial. And then you don't have the pressure of everything else, right? And it's just really playing around with those different touches and that connection. So I love it. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it is an opportunity to play around with that different kind of touch and sensuality, and it brings you back to your body, right?
Mm,
Because when people are having sex, the focus shifts, right? It becomes a genitally focused experience. Um, and when you take that away, you're noticing what your partner is experiencing a lot more,
yeah. You're
right?
present.
Yeah.
Is that what's happening? We're present.
That's what's happening. We're present. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, and men feel a lot of pressure to perform as well. Like men
Mm.
feel like they have to get their partner off, right? This is again the performative paradigm that they need to have an erection. Women think they need to get wet, um, that they have to be able to go for X amount of time, or they're not doing a good job, or they're not manly enough. And then this whole story about like you need to have a big dick. Just I don't even like big dick. Give me a happy medium. I'm good, right? But so many men are like, "Oh, my dick's not big enough," and it's terrible. It
Yeah.
puts so much performance pressure on them that it becomes this like a completely in your head act instead of like, "Oh, here we are."
Yeah. And just to add to that, it's almost like, again, society has, there's so many, thought forms. It's like no one seems to be fully confident and satisfied with their body, because even the males that might have bigger sizes, like in my experience, they're almost too cautious. They're like, am I hurting you? Like, are you okay? Like, they feel like the villain, or they feel like the bad guy, or it's just like, it's just like every way you slice it, it's there, we're all trying to manage like all these expectations, all the, and I know you do a lot of messaging around releasing the fear and the shame and the guilt and that self-consciousness, and that's exactly what has kind of like taken, it's just kind of, it's everywhere in our intimacy, so that we're less in the authentic self, or we're more like in our head and worried, like, am I too small, am I too big, is she okay, is he okay? It's like all of this stuff going on.
Oh yeah, and you think about like, I mean, I've totally done this where I'm like, oh wait, am I hunched over? Does my belly look like has rolls or wrinkles or like oh wait, if I'm in this angle, do my boobs look weird? I don't know. Maybe I'll just avoid that. It's just it's very neurotic. Like
Mm,
sex has become a very neurotic activity for a lot of people. And I used to be there, so I know all about that. It was like, oh God, okay, wait, well, I'm scared and just not that fun.
mm,
Once you let go of that, this is where the best sex of your life lives. Like I have a story I like to share. I remember going on a few dates with one person who we had really great chemistry, right? Like we had a date, we go for a walk, we made out, and I was like, wow, okay, not expecting that, right? And he wanted to continue the evening, and I said, well, you can come over for tea. That's not a code. It means tea. And as soon as he got there, we had an explicit conversation about what I was available for. And for anybody listening who has struggled with that, with this feeling of disconnect or like having bad sex or doing things you don't want to, this is the solution. You have the conversation beforehand. You say, hey, I just want to let you know that my boundary is no genital touch. Don't touch my pussy. And if it feels like we're going that way, you need to check in and ask very clearly, explicitly. But for right now, I'm a no to that. And, this guy was like, cool. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know, right? Because then he could relax. He knows what lines he can color in, and it was just a beautiful experience because the pressure was all gone.
mm.
Because there's often this misconception like, oh, won't all that talking like kill the mood? Like, absolutely not. And you want to be making good choices about who you're connecting with. So you need to understand like their relationship status. You need to understand how many sexual partners do they have? Are they having unprotected sex? There's a lot of data that people leave out of sexual experiences that puts them in their head. And if you just get that at the very beginning and you say it like pass the salt, because I'm sorry, if you're going to have sex with somebody, you're going to let them penetrate but you don't want to ask them like a basic question about their sexual health history. Come on.
Right.
Like this is basic. This is basic. And said with love, I understand in the beginning you can feel nervous because you have a story, they're going to reject you. Listen up. If somebody rejects you for being responsible, don't walk, run away.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Right?
That's powerful feedback. There's no alignment there if that's the case. Yeah. This is so informative. I love that. Talking beforehand, and just being confident. Yeah. If rejection is protection, you guys. Like if that person's not for you, they're just not for you. Even in the most friendly, casual, temporary soul contract sense. So now I want to get into some other, interesting thoughts that we can dive into. What do you think are some outdated patterns in conditioning around sex in spiritual circles? I know we're talking about the performance energy that's outdated, right? Is there anything else?
Oh yes, I've got some notes right here. Let me just bring them over. So the conscious community is an interesting organism, isn't it? Um, it- some observations, and I'm including myself in this. It's a lot of people who didn't grow up maybe with the most secure household. Like something happened where you're like, shit, my paradigm of reality is not what I wanted. I didn't feel safe or held by my parents. I had to wear a mask. So it's a lot of people who are trying to figure themselves out. Let's just notice that. Something I had to really understand and learn and accept was that just because you're in a spiritual community does not make you better, does not actually mean that you are more conscious. It means you have a certain language. But sometimes the most spiritual people, they wouldn't even know, like if I said codes, unlock these codes, they'd be like, what? Right? So just noticing that that doesn't have anything to do with actually being conscious or awake. And like, how cool is it that we are all working on ourselves together? What is happening? There are two really big epidemics. Number one is people who are chronically single and complain about there not being enough good men or good women. And it's always in disguise of, I'm looking for my king or my queen. The minute I hear that, it's like an alarm bell goes off for me, right? First of all, there's not one person for you. That is ridiculous. Like, how cruel would the goddess be if she gave us one person out of 8 billion and we had to somehow like magically find them? Oh my God, mean, right? But
Yeah,
it's not like that. It's not like
right.
that, right? So, there's this mythology, right? That there's one person, and once you find them, and it's all a Disney fantasy, you guys, that you find this person and the problem's going to be solved. And for the men, they're going to have their shit perfectly together. They're going to have 6+ figure income and they're going to be stable. And you're just going to get to be in your feminine and whatever, right? This is the kind of paradigm that's being sold right now. Can you relate to that, Vanessa? Have you like noticed that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes.
Yeah. And it's honestly, it's toxic. A
Yeah.
lot of it is really toxic because it's just reaffirming avoidant attachment. Number one,
Mm,
this is a classic hallmark of avoidant people navigating avoidant attachment. There's this fantasy phantom person who is perfect and everybody else can't measure up, right?
mm-hmm.
Secure people understand that we all got shit. We all have
Yes.
work to do. Okay, this is how it is. And they'll accept you in that,
Yeah.
right? Um, versus in the conscious community, there's a lot of like what I see, a lot of quick hookups
Hmm.
and quick fizzle. Are you seeing that as well? Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, there's definitely that. I mean, and I also see people who stay too long as well
Yes.
because there's still that people pleasing paradigm or the thought form of this person chose me. So I see it all, and I do astrology, right? I'm an astrologer, so I get everyone coming in and I do it more for business and career. That's my niche, but we still end up talking about relationships. We still end up talking about husbands and ex-boyfriends and affairs and like all the things still end up coming through these business and career astrology sessions. So I agree. It's all there, but I really do want to emphasize that yes, in the spiritual community, there is that fantasy. There is that I'm waiting for this one particular person. And I think that that's like, I call everything a program, right? Like, especially, I mean, everything is a belief system, yes, but the programs are like, they're so limiting. Like, they can really box us in and keep us from our authentic self. And so, like, maybe it is someone's authentic expression to be with a certain person that may not be their soulmate, but they're like, I'm waiting for my king or my queen. And then, like, they just, and they feel like they're doing, that they're completely healed and they have like this spiritual ego, or like whatever's going on. So now they're even blocking themselves from an experience that could have benefited them, even if it's not their soulmate. And yeah, and I also agree, we don't have just one person.
Yeah. Well, there's like, treat everybody as your one, even if it's your one for now.
I so agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, because how you practice relationship is how you are going to do relationship. Doesn't matter. Everything is like that. How you practice in your band, how you practice your work, all of those, translate to the real deal. So if you are showing up to relationship disconnected, emotionally unavailable, that's how you're going to start a relationship with somebody who might actually be a good fit, and they might not be willing to put up with your bullshit.
Right.
On one note, the second piece is, yes, so many people are restricting themselves from spending time with certain partners. And here's why. When there's insecure attachment, there's often a focus on wanting a perfect partner, because there can be a deep subconscious fear that if my partner's not perfect, people will know I'm not perfect either.
Hmm.
So it comes down to this, like, nobody's perfect. It's an impossible standard, right?
Hmm.
That really desire, like, this deep insecurity about self and self-worth. And what happens when you release that is so incredible. Like, one of my clients very recently, she came to me struggling with, like, this feeling of, is there a partner out there for me? Why am I not able to attract? And I feel so cut off from myself. And through these paradigm shifts of, like, well, how about instead of following this checklist in your mind that obviously is not getting you the results you want, like, that's the thing you got to ask yourself, is the way I'm doing this getting me the results I want? And if it's not, you need to switch. You need to
Hmm.
switch it up. So she starts spending time with this man who she says, Amaya, normally I wouldn't have even looked twice at this person, but I feel so fucking alive. I feel so alive with him. We are having so much fun. I am turned on, and I'm just like, there's so much possibility.
Hmm.
that that is what people are cutting themselves off from, because they're waiting for this thing that will reflect their own perfection. Embrace your bullshit, people. We all have it. And love yourself through it.
Yeah. And I've started to have fun with embracing the BS lately. Like, like life just got fun. It got juicier. It's like more like a ride now that I'm just like, like, ooh, this is my darkness. Let's play with that. Like, oh, okay, now I'm back in my light. Like,
Mm.
it becomes an adventure. So I love the message that you're sharing around that. So you keep mentioning some attachment styles. I'm very familiar with them. For anyone who's not, can you kind of go through them really quickly, and then if there's any important wisdom around the attachment styles and the conversation that we're having, you could also include that in there too.
Of course. And I'm glad you asked, because it is so supremely important. So I also do Vedic astrology, and I specialize in sex and love and relational astrology. And
Oh, yes.
yeah, we always look at the fourth house first, which is
Okay.
childhood, right? How did you grow up?
And the authentic self.
100%. So the attachment styles describe how you behave with others in relationship, right? So somebody who has secure attachment is somebody who had their needs met as a child at least 50% of the time. right? Emotional and their bids for connection were met and received and responded to. Then there are people who have back up a second. Securely attached people are the ones that tend to be in healthy relationships. They tend to be in partnership more than avoidant people. Anxious people can also be coupled, but for the wrong reasons. So we want to date secure people if you are not secure. Um, then there is what we call anxious attachment style. Now, this is somebody who feels like you feel a lot of tension in relationship, like you're constantly checking your phone. Did they text me back? If somebody doesn't text you back soon enough, then you'll pace according to their pace. You're like, oh, well, they took 4 hours to get back to me. I'm going to take 4 hours to get back to them. And you might find that you're desiring sex with somebody really soon because you're using this as a way to create connection
Hmm.
before you actually know if this person is right for you. And you have to be very careful if you are an anxiously attached person because you will get emotionally attached from sex, right? So anxious people, it's what it sounds like. There's anxiety in relationship. And a little known fact is that anxious people will actually punish their partners a lot because just because you're in relationship doesn't mean it goes away, right? Unless you work on it. So a hallmark is that people with anxious attachment will erupt at their partners for like no good reason. That was me before. Like I remember one time being with my ex-boyfriend. We were at like some expo in California. We'd had like a great night together. And then at like 2 a.m., I sit up and I'm like, you were blah, 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 talking to this girl and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh my God, you psycho. So that's how the anxious attachment shows up. Like there's a lot of fear you're going to be left. And so you act crazy.
Okay. Quick question.
Yes.
Very, very quick. We don't have to go down the inward rabbit hole, but a lot of people think that everyone who's anxious attachment is narcissistic. Can you debunk that or confirm it?
Oh, that is total bullshit.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know who said that, but absolutely.
It's I think because everyone's labeling a lot of people as the N-word, narcissistic, it's just kind of getting, I think things are just getting blurry and they're just kind of bundling all these characteristics, but another story for another podcast. I
Yeah.
just wanted to clear that up. Okay, cool.
Yeah, thanks for asking that because that's a really unfair
Yeah, for sure.
diagnosis and judgment. And it happens a lot. We tend to snap judge people. I'm also guilty of it at times too. So going back to the attachment styles, avoidant is the type that is avoiding connection and relationship. Now it
I
can
was
look,
there.
yeah, right. And it can look a couple ways. It can actually look like serial monogamy of like
Hmm.
relationships. It's like a year and a half is about the max, right? For avoidant people. A year and a half, then they break up and then they'll get with someone else. Or they're just not connecting, right?
Mm.
They'll they keep everything like this, right? So they're the person that takes a long time to get back to you. They're the person you might feel breadcrumbed.
Yeah.
And right, like they'll text you just enough so that you're like you stick around if you're anxious. Secure people won't put up with this. They're like,
Right.
no. But anxious people, they're wired in a different way until they heal it. You can become what's called earned secure, which is what
Hmm.
I. But yeah, avoidance will also tend to have this phantom fantasy person that this is who they're waiting for. They must be exactly like this. You must be 37 years old, making 237 to $29 a year, and you must have a home in Greece and like, this level of specificity that's crazy that nobody's going to meet. Um, so all of that can come up, right? And the thing that you must know, especially if you're dating now, who do you think is single? is avoidant people.
Avoidant. Okay, yeah.
So if you're dating past your 20s, you might be saying like, am I crazy? Because I swear to God, I'm showing up a certain way and all these people just, I feel like they're ghosting. And there is another topic in there, which is like, are you turning princes into frogs? Like, are you uh, inspiring men to run away? Or are
Oh,
you inspiring them to be their best and stay? But also, there are just more avoidant people in the dating pool. And as you get
right.
older, that increases.
Okay. Yeah. And then how do the attachment styles connect to sexual intimacy or expression?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked because talking about the intimacy codes of the attachment styles is my jam. Anxious people again will seek sex for closeness, right? They will desire that as a way to create connection and can often sleep with people too soon, right? And in relationship, they'll desire sex as that emotional connection piece. Compared to like avoidance, um, it can show up two ways. It can show up like they don't want to go too deep, right? And people don't talk about that a lot, but it's true. Like you could be somebody who's just not having sex, and that's also a way of avoiding close.
Hmm.
Or you have sex with multiple people, right? Because that's the way, the best way to get over somebody is to get under someone else. Ever heard that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and then secure people tend to have a more balanced narrative around sexuality. Interesting that I want you to guess this actually. What do you think is the average number that people sleep with? The average number of people that the average American sleeps with in their lifetime?
Hmm. I don't know. Is there a range? My mind goes everywhere.
It's going to blow your mind.
Okay, what is it?
Four.
Wait. Wait, I don't understand the question. This can't be.
Yep. Four. Right. And I know
Okay, so
all
say that. So the average person sleeps with four people per a what?
their life.
No.
Yes.
Okay, no,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
My so as a past avoidant, I'm secure attachment now for the record. As a past avoidant, I was definitely that person that was promiscuous and complicated story, but that is so interesting. I had no idea. And I'll pass you the mic so you can continue to riff off of that. And then somewhere in there, did we miss the disorganized attachment style?
I didn't get there yet. Yeah.
Okay.
And just to kind of wrap it up with that. So disorganized attachment you'll feel like you're in a roller coaster all the
Mm,
time. Like you want to connect, but then you're scared too. You'll reach out and then you withdraw and you'll display both traits of anxious or avoidant that can show up. All of this is a spectrum, by the way. So
right.
it's all a spectrum, and there are certain people who can trigger certain tendencies in you. Like if you feel smothered, even somebody who is leaning anxious can be like, "Oh my God,
Mm,
whoa," right? And vice versa. So that will depend on your partner. But yeah, the disorganized will have, they did not have their needs met as a child. And that doesn't always mean that the parents were like very irresponsible. It doesn't, as there tends to be a lot of parent shaming and blaming. But the truth is, we all have different nervous systems, and what feels like trauma to one person, another person has zero reaction to. So you might actually be more sensitive than other people, or you may have actually had a parent that was unpredictable in how they would respond to you, right? So all of that comes together and creates a lot of like internal chaos for somebody who's navigating disorganized attachment style.
powerful. Okay.
Mm.
Thank you for that. And I can't believe our time is almost up. I feel like we haven't been able to pack enough in here yet. Um, so healing shame. How do we do it? Is it important?
Mhm.
And how much impact does it have on our sexual expression?
Oh, I mean, healing sexual shame is the number one piece to really enjoying pleasure in your body. How do you do it? That's a great question. Now, there's some nuance there in that one, you need to become aware of it and aware of all these performative based narratives that you've internalized, right? Around what the world tells you is appropriate versus connecting to your own experience and authentic desire. Now, for me, what really helped me overcome sexual shame is I hung out with people that are way freakier than I am, right? Like, honestly, at the end of the day, hang out with people who have what you have. That is the simplest way because when you're around a lot of people who are candid in sharing their sensual desires and experiences, it normalizes it,
Mm,
right? So the best way to overcome sexual shame is normalize your sexuality, right? By talking with someone, by getting around sex positive communities, and also just understanding your sexuality. It can feel very well, let me say this as somebody who leans towards kink, which means a lot of things that people wrongly assume and actually just means taboo, right? You like things
right.
that are taboo. But I felt a lot of shame about some of my desires, and I was like, "Oh, I'm weird." And then I hung out with crazier people. Like I said, I have studied with numerous dominatrixes. I've been in numerous dungeons, just as I've hung out with celibate monks. So I've really experienced the full spectrum of sexuality, and that set me free.
Mm,
And that can set you free too.
that is very powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. And as we start to close up here, you've given us so many messages, but is there another message, a deeper wisdom, or anything that you might want to reemphasize
Mhm.
um, to the world about love, sex, and self-worth?
Yes. Sexuality is innocent. Sexuality is natural and it is a biological right. Very few people speak about sex in this way. For too long, has been a closed door conversation. And the more we normalize it, the less assault there is. The more people have access to whatever strange desires they have, the less we see people doing weird shit like sex trafficking. And
Mm-hmm.
this all really has such a profound impact. So whether you are celibate, and some people can feel shame about that too, because like, oh my God, everybody else my age is like out partying and I just want to be a priest. Dope. Own that. Whatever your authentic expression is, this isn't just about like how to have more sex. It's like, no, what does your body want to do? What are you desiring? Follow that.
I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So
Mm.
be sure to connect with her. We have her website links in the description. Her website is amayashiva.com. Her Instagram link is there and her Facebook link is there. And tell us, how do people work with you? Do you have any type of significant or special offering or service right now?
Great question. I have two primary ways that I work with people. One is in a one-on-one container. So if you are listening to this and you're feeling like, damn, I'm ready for this kind of transformation in my life, I invite you to go to amayashiva.com and click on apply for free consult. But I also do in-person workshops. So if that speaks to you, you can find the live stuff under events. Um, if you're ready to be around a group of people that's maybe weirder than you, or maybe you're the weird one and we can celebrate you and how you give us permission. So yeah, those are the two main ways.
I love that. I love it. Thank you so much for your time and energy. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Namaste. Have a great day.